Hani. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. We are now going to start the main program with the recitation of Qur'an from Sayyid Hani. Let's welcome him with salawat ala Muhammad wa al Muhammad. Oh, you want to?
That's fine. Thank you. May Allah bless you. Thank you. Thank you. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First, I would like to congratulate you all, brothers and sisters, on one of the most auspicious and one of the most happiest of days that the believers and the followers of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad would celebrate, and that is the Milad of Amirul Mu'mineen, Mawla al-Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib. So I would like to extend my congratulations to you, to your families. Of course, we extend our congratulations to the Imam of our time, Al-Imam Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman, to our Maraja and our Ulama. And inshallah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would always bless your days with happiness, with the blessings of the name of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. اللهم صل على محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. ومن يتول الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا فإن حزب الله هم الغالبون. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. ومن يتول الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا فإن حزب الله هم الغالبون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا الذين اتخذوا دينكم هزوا ولعبا لا تتخذوا الذين اتخذوا دينكم هزوا ولعبا من الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم لا تتخذوا الذين اتخذوا دينكم هزوا ولعبا من الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم والكفار من الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم والكفار أولياء واتقوا الله واتقوا الله إن كنتم مؤمنين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا. ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. ربنا وآتنا ما وعدتنا على رسلك ولا تخزنا يوم القيامة. ربنا وآتنا على رسلك ولا تخزنا يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد. فاستجاب لهم ربهم أني لا أضيع عمل عامل منكم من ذكر أو أنثى بعضكم من بعض فالذين هاجروا وأخرجوا من ديارهم وأوذوا في سبيلي فالذين هاجروا وأخرجوا من ديارهم وأوذوا في سبيلي وقاتلوا وقتلوا لأكفرن عنهم سيئاتهم ولأدخلنهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ثوابا من عند الله ولأدخلنهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ثوابا من عند الله والله عنده حسن الثواب صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل أحسنت. Thank you very much for that beautiful recitation. We're now going to move to the next part of the program where we're going to have Qasida by Muhammad Datoo. Let's welcome him. Salat ala Muhammad wa al Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نهنئكم بولادة أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. I congratulate you all on this auspicious occasion, Laylatul Eid, and let us show some happiness by reciting some praises of none other than Ali ibn Abi Talib. I will need your voices and your hands, please. Let's start with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And who was after the holy Taha? And who was after the holy Taha? Hassan his father, Ali, Hassan his father, Ali. What is a man's worth, saying he was fourth when he was the first, Ali? When I think of you and I close my two eyes, I see the truth. Ali, 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 ya Haidar, who's on the Kawthar, giving the water. Ali, 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 Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali. Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla. And who but Haydar, and who but Haydar could open Khaybar? Who is the savior? Ali, Ali. On that horizon, a man from iron stood like a lion. Ali, Ali. Ali is fearless, Ali courageous. If you ever faced Ali, Ali, the sword from the skies came down in his right. He kills with his eyes. Ali, 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 Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, 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 Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla. They think I'm crazy for Abul Hasanain. They think I'm crazy for Abul Hasanain. They think I'm crazy for Abul Hasanain. I say I'm crazy, psycho and insane. He's the one who in prayer gave charity. How can I know him and keep my sanity? He is the master who lived life like a slave. He is the ship that sails swiftly through the waves. Bravery learns from Haydar how to be brave. Bravery learns from Haydar how to be brave. Ali Ali Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla, Ya Ali, Ali Ali Mawla. Ali Ali Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla. They say he's fourth, but I am not so sure. Since when did counting start with number 4? Khaybar locked its gates and sealed off the doors. Who needs keys when Haydar lifted the door? So tell Khaybar, we have the master key. Who? Ali Ali Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla, Ali 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 Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla, Ali 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 Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla. حب علي فوز الشيعي غدا فامدد لي في يوم حسابي يدا وانقذني من نار جحيم وهال رمت شفيعا غير إمام الهدى إن صلاتي ثم صيامي إذا لم يشفع لي حيدر ضاعت سدى يشهد ربي أن بروحي له حبا دوما قلبي فيه شدا صهر الهادي أنت مرادي علي صهر الهادي أنت مرادي علي 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 مولى علي علي مولى علي 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 مولى علي علي مولى علي علي مولى علي 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 مولى علي علي مولى علي علي مولى علي أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you very much. We are now going to move on to the talk today, which will be by Imranali Panjwani. Let's welcome him. As-salawat ala Muhammad wa al Muhammad. Dr Imranali Panjwani has lived, studied and worked in the UK, Middle East and Australia as an academic, lawyer and chaplain and community worker. His work combines his diverse legal, cultural and religious experiences and has been commented upon by both judges and lawyers. He focuses on the reformation of both Islamic and Western legal systems so that greater attention can be paid to the subject of law and the rights of minority communities. We're very fortunate to have him once again blessing us with his presence. Salawat ala Muhammad wa al Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. Salawat, please. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Nice to see you all again, mashallah. My first thought in giving this lecture was not the lecture, but what kanzu I picked, because last time I wore white, all of you in color, so I've consciously, by the way, I chose blue to match with all of you. So that was, I didn't care about the lecture first, what do I wear? That's the first thing. Second thing is, I'm not getting married. I'm already married, alhamdulillah, so this is for somebody else. But whoever got married, Allah bless them, inshallah. Salawat. Inshallah, in the next half an hour or so, I want to deal with a very specific topic, which is what were the challenges our beloved Imam Ali alayhi salam, who we are of course celebrating today, what challenges did he face as soon as he became fourth Khalif, and what can we learn from these challenges today? There are two reasons, to be very honest, in picking this lecture. One is, as Miqdad introduced, but I'm sure you got tired of hearing that terrible biography. Yes, I deal with asylum seekers on a weekly basis, and several of them actually, in writing reports for them, have fled India and come here. Now, all of you, I'm sure, are aware that right-wing nationalism is on the rise in India. But in my research, because I have to write an article about this, in fact, there is a few articles which track what kind of nationalism and extremism exists in other countries, like New Zealand, like Australia, United Kingdom, US, parts of Europe, right? We've seen reports of Qur'an burnings and such things. So a lot of commentators are saying that, although this is not a new trend, but there is, we can say in the world, a global trend of protecting one's supposed national identity, one's country, and whatever they think their lineage and origin to be. And most people in the firing line are Muslim. And so the Indian asylum seekers who I had to speak to, why are they fleeing? Simple things. One, that you have right-wing mobs, attacking them, or government policies denying them citizenship, or you have love jihad law, which is a fear that if somebody converts to Islam, that's because it's by force, or even people who go to masjid. Some of the commentators are saying that some of the right-wing mobs in India investigate when was this masjid built, and was it originally a temple, and they want to break down the masjid and replace it with a Hindu temple. So this is not about Hinduism or Islam. This is about the extremism and violence to protect one's identity in order to subjugate another. And in fact, when Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam became fourth Khalif, there were in fact these tendencies to protect people's tribal identity in order to subjugate others, which I want to share with you. You might find it interesting. Second thing is, I don't know, maybe you know more than me, but growing up, I never really heard much about Imam Ali's reign as Khalif. I mean, what were his specific policies? How did he govern? What was his vision in society? How did he handle dispute? What were his economic policies? I think all of these are fundamental today in the formation of our communities. One, I mean, especially Shia communities who we hold Ali ibn Abi Talib so dearly, but all Muslim and human communities that wish to learn from a very saintly and visionary personality. And I always think, why haven't we investigated these very specific qara'in, these very specific contextual factors and policies more so? Salawat. So that's the topic. Now, I want to relate to you an incident from Imam Ali's life first and foremost, okay? On 19th Dhul Hijjah, 35 AH, this was the year that Uthman ibn Affan was killed, was murdered. Why was he murdered? Because of nepotism, because of promoting his own type of people within the government because of fasad, because of corruption, because loss of money, and people themselves were disgruntled with the society. So this is not a Shia or Sunni analysis. This is an objective analysis in history that people were unhappy with Uthman's reign. So what happened at that time, right? Number one, Imam Ali alayhi salam was asked to become Khalif. He did not want to become Khalif. And we should be clear about this. It's not something he vied for or wanted. Because if he wanted that, then even after the event of Saqifa, he would have divided the society. He did not do that. He eventually did give bay'ah to Abu Bakr. Yes, people sought his advice, but he did not form a separate group and accepted the rulership that was there. But when Uthman was murdered, people came to him and says, look, Ali, you are the right man to lead the society. We are poor, we have people who are oppressed, etc., etc. So what happened was, in his first speech, this is his first speech that he's giving, and I'm summarizing it, and I'm taking this from a book which you can buy. It's called Imam Ali and Political Leadership by Muhammad Rayshahri, one of the contemporary muhaddithin, by the way, within the Shia school of thought. But when he is analyzing this incident, he's taking it from two sources. The Shahrun Najul Balagha by Ibn Abi al-Hadid, volume 7, and Sermon 205 of Nahjul Balagha. These are the primary sources. When Imam Ali gives his first speech, he first of all praises Allah and the Prophet. Okay, that we expect. Number two, he says, I did not want this position that you are giving me, but I am accepting it only because I am going to rule with justice and rectify and revive the affairs of Rasulullah and the family of course, the Prophet, and ultimately the Qur'an. Prophet and Qur'an, or I should say Qur'an and Prophet. So he's very clear that he's going to rule by these two things. Fine, people are listening. There is no issue at this stage. Now, he's giving this speech, and I'm trying to make it as if it is live. Everybody's listening and nobody has an issue. Right. Then he continues and his tone changes. And he says, I understand from all of you that you disapproved of Uthman's reign. You disapproved. And you were unhappy, which is why you have come to me. I also accept that, and I was not happy with some of his policies. So he's very clear about this. And I gave you examples of corruption, of people being poor, of nepotism. These are some of the things that Uthman was charged with and why he was murdered. Then he says, I also notice in your society that people are attempting to exert their superiority over other people. And he mentions two groups in the speech. The Muhajirin and the Ansar. The Muhajirin, as you know, they had to leave Makkah because Abu Sufyan and his cohort were ostracizing and attempted to kill Rasulullah. They had to leave Makkah. And the Ansar that welcomed the Muhajirin into Medina. Okay? But by this time, by 35 AH or 656 CE, the Muhajirin and Ansar, the very people that had helped Rasulullah, were saying that they were superior to other people and deserved a position of leadership. You're only talking about, 30 years, 40 years. You're not talking about a huge gap of time, okay, between the death of Rasulullah and when all of these things were taking place. So what had happened in the society that the people who had helped Rasulullah, Muslims, practicing Muslims, pious people, now were thinking that they were superior in the society. Ali ibn Abi Talib Islam says in his speech that the society that he says is a fragmented society. The society he sees is in pieces, as if it's a dark society. That's how he describes it in his speech. And the reason he says that is because people behave in a way when they are used to a certain type of leadership. If Uthman was promoting nepotism and promoting his own type of people or his own tribe to the power, then people also followed suit in society. So if we are talking about societies today, and whether we are talking about India or United Kingdom or Iran, for example, and in the latter, again, in speaking to asylum seekers, Kurdish people being executed, Kurdish people fleeing, Kurdish people being arbitrarily detained and tortured, are these things that are the practice of any Muslim country? Or you look at Saudi Arabia, the amount of executions they are doing in private. All of these things indicate what? That one group considers superiority over the rule of law, over justice. So Ali ibn Abi Talib is saying that you got used to Uthman's reign. You got used to promoting superiority. At this point in his speech, Talha, Zubair, Marwan ibn Hakam, Abdullah ibn Umar, all of these people start whispering in the background. Now, he is speaking and people are in the corner whispering. Okay? So as he's speaking. When he comes to the end of the speech, these very people and some members of the Quraysh go up to Ali ibn Abi Talib and they say, "Excuse me, what are you saying here? We are the ones that elected you. We are the ones that influence people to accept you. So why are you now criticizing us? Why are you saying that we are behaving in a superior manner? And the reason we elected you or got you in power is because we want a part of the leadership. We want to run society. We don't want to, we're not interested in this type of justice. We want our justice. We want superiority." So you can imagine at that society what had happened between the death of Rasulullah and why they needed Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam to come to the foray. Salawat, please. So, how does Imam alayhi salam respond? He then actually quotes a verse of the Qur'an which you are all aware of from Surah Al-Hujurat, which is the specific tafsir point of the lecture, verse 13 of Surah Al-Hujurat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'il lita'arafu inna akramakum indallahi atqakum innallaha alimun khabir. You've all heard this verse. Again, he quotes the verse of the Quran saying, "O mankind, indeed we created you from a man and a woman, or male and female, and made you into nations and tribes so that you may recognize each other, lita'arafu." And so he says that only, or indeed, I should say, the noblest of you in the sight of Allah is the one who is most God conscious. Indeed, Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. Why did he quote this verse and what was the reason for it? He responds to Talha, Zubair, Marwan ibn Hakam, members of the Quraysh with this verse, and then says, "I am now going to give out 3 dinars to each person in this gathering." And he directly tells them, whether you are muhajir, whether you are ansar, whether you are Arab or non-Arab, I'm giving you each 3 dinars from the Baytul Mal, from the public treasury. This is when they get so angry and they say, "No, why are you giving a non-Arab, right? Somebody that could be of a dark colored skin or a foreign person. Why are you giving him 3 dinars when we were the ones that helped the Prophet? When we were the ones that were close to the Prophet," right? His response again, he's saying that, "Have you ever seen me unjust? Have you ever seen me go against Rasulullah? Didn't you want me in power because I'm going to revive Rasulullah?" This is when he responds and he then stops the speech. Now, this whole context is crucial. Why? Because number one, Imam Ali's vision for society very specifically is what we say in contemporary terms, rule of law. Nobody is above the rule of law. Even if you're talking about the Queen, even if you're queen has passed away, we're talking about the king now, okay? Any of them are not above the rule of law. That's why those of you, if you have studied law, you have executive, legislature, and judiciary. Before it was the executive that ruled and passed laws, and now you have parliament. So in Islam, we have this notion of rule of law from Qur'an, but specifically from Imam Ali, and this is a very specific example. Two, and I think also this is contrary today, by the way, I think we have a lot of majalis. I think we have a lot of speeches. I think we have so many speeches on YouTube. Today, tomorrow, we're going to have so many, Kushali Mubarak and majalis. 40-minute majalis, 1-hour majalis, majalis 3 times a week, 2 times a week. I actually looked at this. In Imam Ali's time, or even if you look at Nahj al-Balagha, you will find the sermons vary in length. Some literally few minutes, some 10 minutes, if you want to count the sentences, or this speech, which is a bit longer. So Imam Ali is not interested, by the way, in giving long speeches. He's interested, or as we say in Islamic tradition, we have ilmul amali and ilmul nadari. We have practical intellect and theoretical intellect. Theoretical intellect is just I'm bombarding with concepts all the time. Practical intellect is putting those pieces of knowledge into practice. Today we give wonderful speeches about unity. We give wonderful speeches in interfaith gatherings. How much do we do to actually create policies from communities, from governments to solve things? Even the Orientalists, right? You talk about Henry Stubb and you talk about Samuel Coleridge. Even the Orientalists, and those were very sympathetic to Islam, even they could see, and they described in their writings, Imam Ali was a practical man. He was a man of action. He wasn't a man of theory. Today, maybe we speak about Islam in theoretical terms. As I said, we speak about Imam Ali, but maybe we don't enact what he is thinking, what his actual policies were, whether in our societies or our communities, and indeed in our countries, which is why I gave the example of people Muslims being executed or Muslims being subjugated. Salawat, please. So you can see from this just very short incident that I've relayed to you that Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam was extremely steadfast in implementing the rule of law and justice, to the extent that in Mustadrak al-Hakim by Naysapuri, there is a hadith in relation to Lady Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha salawat, please. And this is just to give you an insight into why people gave Imam Ali a very difficult time. This is again according to Sunni tradition, but we have these kind of ahadith there, so it's worthwhile quoting it to give you a picture of society. They used to ask her, why did you marry such a poor man? Because we know even in history, Prophet was not a rich person. His wife was very rich, mashallah, okay? And Imam Ali in the same way, Imam Ali wasn't known for his wealth. I mean, he was a poor person, a simple person. So people used to ask Lady Fatima, why have you married this person? He's poor, right? And she responds by saying, don't you know that his position in front of Allah, that one, he is so close to Rasulullah, who Allah chose to be the Prophet, and close to Rasulullah is Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, who both are beloved in the sight of Allah. So you can even see Lady Fatima Zahra's view of marriage, a very beautiful, godly, spiritual vision of marriage, which we all try to do, inshallah. But you can see that society gave Imam Ali a very hard time because they didn't see him as a man of wealth. They didn't see him as a man having this worldly status and tribal status. That's why he found it such a difficult time during his Khilafah. But we must pose a second question. When Ali ibn Abi Talib al-Islam quoted this verse, what exactly was he trying to achieve in society? Now, I've given you just some parts from the history. Okay, he gave 3 dinars to people. All right, fine. That's not really a novel thing, you might say, because, okay, we can give in charity. Okay, we pay our taxes, money gets distributed, fine. Okay, we understand that. Okay, we can talk about unity. All right, fine, we can talk about unity and not having tribal superiority. But what was his sort of visionary principles? What was driving this? What type of society did he want to construct? So we can use it as a barometer today when we are developing a community or society. Salawat, please. The first thing he said, now, by the way, this analysis I'm giving you is based on 4 books of tafasir. Majmal Bayan by Allama Tabarrusi rahmatullahi alayh, Al-Mizan, Tafsir al-Kabir Fakhruddin Razi, and the Tafsir of Ibn Arabi. So I've looked at Shia, Sunni, and sort of Sufi oriented, just to give you an insight into the similar analysis across all schools of thought in this verse. You can see that there is a consistent interpretation of this verse, and maybe it will make us think why people are subjugating Muslims, or why Muslims themselves are fighting with each other, or why people are cursing each other, and maybe how far we have strayed from the Qur'an, okay? Number 1, we saw from the verse, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuhan nasu, inna khalaqnakum min dhakrin wa untha. Okay, Allah addresses mankind, all people. He's saying, oh people, everybody, all human beings, we've created you from a male and female. Okay, why is this important? Virtually all of the tafasir I read said male and female means that we all go back to Adam and Hawa. All of us go back to Adam and Hawa without distinction. A man is not superior to a woman, and a woman is not superior to a man in their essence, okay? In their origin. Allama Tabatabai rahimahullah in Al-Mizan, and he's one, by the way, one of the few contemporary scholars that refutes the ahadith before the 19th century, which are quoted in Majmal Bayan and Tafsir Safi. There are a number of ahadith that we have, and women, you might get angry about this, but I have to be honest with you, that women come from the dal, or from the rib of Adam alayhi salam. So Adam was created first, and then from the lower portion of the rib of Adam, the woman comes, all right? So this, by the way, you might find is similar in the Christian tradition, yes? We have the same hadith. And none of the scholars before 20th century refuted it, none of them. I looked, only Allama Tabatabai refutes it and disagrees with that, and quotes verses like this, saying that this has got nothing to do with the Qur'an. The Qur'an does not say that a woman or a woman comes from a second category. In fact, says that a man and woman comes from nafsin wahida, one soul, one essence, okay? So that means that a man and a woman, in their intellectual attributes, in their spiritual attributes, in the moral attributes, there is no superiority at all. At all. That means we say takwini. In the creational attributes, there's nothing. Fiqh or ahkam, which may differ in terms of leadership and in terms of inheritance, all of these things are very much related to the contextual factors in the society. That second argument is from Sayyid Kamal Haidari in some of his lectures, by the way. And that's why I'm quoting you this verse. Ali ibn Abi Talib does not believe that a man and a woman have any distinction in their creational attributes because both come from Adam and Hawa. And therefore he then says, or I should not he says, but our Mufassirin say, that when any tribe or community or sect, so you can talk about Shia, Sunni, Zaydi, Wahhabi, whatever, no tribe can ever claim superiority because we come from the same origin. Right? This is now substantiated by the next part of the verse. And the tafsir is very beautiful here. What does Allah say? وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ تَعَارُفُ. And we made from all of you nations and tribes so that you may recognize each other. The Qur'an is an extremely realistic book. It's not a fairy tale book. It is not a dream book or just an idealistic book. It's a realistic book that reflects the society at the time and what the society should be. And what's the proof? All of the tafasir say, in Arabia, even before Rasulullah, there were two major, I don't want to use tribes, I want to say shu'uban. Shu'ub is nations or large communities or large groups of people. There were two major large group of people or societies, Mudar and Rabi'a. The Mudar and Rabi'a were the two major groups of people. That in those times before Rasulullah, that today, if you like, is an example of the modern nation or state. So today we might say England and Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland. You can kind of compare it to that in Arabia at that time. Because those two large groups were equivalent to saying England and Wales, all right? England and Wales, okay? So he says, the Mufassirin say that these two, if you like, nations existed. From that, there was tafriq. And tafriq means subdivision, okay? Salawat, please. Just checking the time. Shall I go on for another 10 minutes? Yes, because I've taken 15? What do you think, 10 minutes? All of you seem a bit tired. Is this too serious? Okay, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So there was a subdivision in these large group of people. From that came the qaba'il or qabila. So you have Bakr. Bakr was a qabila. The Bani Tamim was a qabila. All right. So the Qur'an says, I know that you had nations and I made you like that. I made you in large groups of people, and then from that you all became tribes. So all the Mufassirin say, being part of a tribe or a community, or me as an Indian or as a British person, right? That is not an issue. That's my identity. And we should never lose our identity. Whether we say we are British Indian, Khoja, or we say Pakistani, Afghani, Iraqi, okay, that's perfectly normal. There's no issue in that at all. None of the Mufassirin say that your background, your tribal background is ever an issue. We have to come from somewhere, right? And we have to be proud of that. But the purpose of me being from an Indian background and you being Iraqi, Irani, Pakistani, whatever it is lita'arufu. I get to know you and you get to know me. That's it. We get to know each other's personalities, ways of dealings, characters. We get to know each other. And if we get to know each other, what's going to happen? We'll reduce enmity, we'll work together, and inshallah we'll strive to create a godly society. But in Imam Ali's time, all of those things were then being forgotten because they started, oh wait, hold on a second. I'm a muhajir. I'm from the Ansar. So they even lost the purpose of Rasulullah's message. They said, no, I've now got this status now. I am Shia, so I follow Imam Ali, and we are on the right path, and we are better than the Sunni Muslim, and vice versa. I am Indian, and this is my country, and I should subjugate a Muslim. Whatever it is, right? So you can see what is happening today and how far we are from the Quranic understanding of a society. The third interpretation or aspect of this verse is, what do we mean by qabila? What do we mean by tribe? There are several interpretations. One is that tribe itself either means the supporters of Rasulullah or those that did not support him. Two, it means that shu'ub, when you say shu'ub, it means the foreigners, the non-Arabs that came in the society. And the qaba'il were the Arabs. And the third interpretation is qaba'il or qabila is only related to Arabs. Because we have the asbat were the Bani Israel. So Bani Israel has a specific terminology in itself, or istilahan, terminologically is asbat. But qabila is relating to Arabs. So you can already see that Imam alayhi salam, and we see this at the end of the verse, we say that atqakum, who is most God conscious is the one who is most successful. Imam Ali's final response to Talha, Zubair, Marwan ibn Hakam is, I do not care whether you help the Prophet or not. I do not care whether you are Arab or non-Arab. What I care about is your merit or virtue in front of Allah. If your character, if your actions are godly, then this is what I will respect and what I will honor. Salawat, please. I will end on this hadith. It is 7:16. So I will end on this hadith. In Majmal Bayan, after giving all of this analysis, there is a beautiful hadith about what is Islam and what is Iman. Because it appears today, and maybe, to be honest, since Rasulullah's time, Muslims and all religious groups have made judgments on each other. You are Muslim, you are Kafir. You are Shia, you are Sunni. You are not really a faithful person because you don't follow Imam in this particular way. You have a different interpretation of infallibility or this. So people, we make judgments. At the end of Majmal Bayan, Rasulullah was asked, what is the difference between Islam and Iman? This is his response. He says, Al-Islam i'laniya wal-Iman fil qalb وَأَشَارَ إِلَى صَدْرِهِ. Very, very simple Arabic language. I'm sure for those that you know Arabic, you will understand it, okay? He says Islam is i'laniya, Islam is declarative. It's something outward, it's something you just identify yourself with. It's i'laniya, it's a sign. Okay, this person I can see is a Muslim, he prays, he fasts, he has taken shahada. Iman is in the heart. And what's God going to judge us on? He's going to judge us on faith, right? If he's going to judge us on Islam, I think we're all fine. We have a ticket to paradise and we are already there. But he's going to judge us on Islam. He's going to judge us on Iman. And Iman is in the heart. And you don't know what is in my heart. I don't know what is in yours. You don't know my sins. I don't know yours. Allah knows. So the Prophet then says, وَأَشَارَ إِلَى صَدْرِهِ, and indicated to his chest. So when he says heart, he didn't actually give a specific definition. He just pointed like this. He says, what's in there? And only Allah knows what is in there. How beautiful the Prophet has distinguished Islam and Iman. And yet today, our judgments are based on Islam and they're not based on looking for Iman. And maybe this is the root problems of divisions between Muslims or the subjugation of Muslims, and maybe how far we are from the beautiful words of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Salawat, please. Jazakallah for your time. Please, can we end on a Surah Al-Fatiha for all of the mu'mineen, marhumin, all human beings, all the people that require shafa of Allah. Allah, we pray to you on this very blessed occasion and month to please Allah elevate their stations, bless everybody, forgive their sins, forgive our sins, and may we follow in the footsteps of Rasulullah and his family, inshallah. Surah Al-Fatiha.
Thank you very much for that talk. We have some time for questions, if there are any questions from either side.
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you for your lecture.
Inshallah.
Really enjoyed that. A slight comment. You know, when you reflected on Imam Ali's life,
Yes.
you reflected on his time as a leader, his
Yes.
khutbah.
Yes.
Imam Ali was a citizen for 30 years and a very
Yes.
noble one at that.
Yes.
And the vast majority of us find in, perhaps not in positions of leadership, but as citizens.
Yes.
And what evidence do we have, or what stories do we have of
Yes.
Imam Ali's role in working towards a society that he envisioned in his time as citizen?
Yes.
My second point is that when you talk about being nations and tribes, reflecting on Miqdad's lecture yesterday, he gave a beautiful lecture on census data and and the diversity that lies amongst Muslims in Harrow, and the vision of the Salam Center as well. And I want us to sort of reflect at the crowd amongst us, and there's so much diversity, and it's beautiful. But how do we go about forming almost like a pan-Islamic identity, which is not susceptible to the superiority that we see amongst our Muslims, fellow Muslims, or in other nations around the world? And I think I want to sort of reflect back on Imam Ali's life and in his time as a citizen in those 30 years before he became Khalifa. Another thing, Iqbal uncle, a few years back in his Eid khutbah, had talked about Muslims shifting from a state of Darul Harb to Darul Am, where we are not always on defensive, but we have to accept that there is security here. And it is only in realizing our own security that we will have the confidence perhaps to share the principles, beautiful principles of equality, justice, that lie within our faith. And I think reflecting on your lecture, what stories, what do we have within Imam Ali's life as a citizen that can perhaps lead us to where we ought to be, not where we are?
Okay, shukran, jazakallah. That should get us salawat, because it is a majlis, but mashallah, beautiful question. Salawat, please. Very, very intellectual question, mashallah, and deep question. I'll do my best to answer it. One is, in terms of the citizenship aspect, I did touch upon it briefly, but it was not the purpose of the lecture, which is, after Abu Bakr became Khalif, Imam Ali didn't divide the society. So I think, first of all, as citizens, we should not divide the society. I think that's the first thing. In our actions, in whatever we do, we should not be a source of division, even as simple things on WhatsApp, in promoting fitna and such things. More practically, to answer your question, there are biographies of Imam Ali that go into this, like Voice of Human Justice by George Jordak, where these stories are present as to how Imam Ali was as a citizen. That is there. And other biographies as well. Maybe you can look on Amazon. We have a few. But even at the end of Nahjul Balagha, Imam Ali's aqwal or statements give an insight into how he behaved. Just to give you one example, he used to give advice to people or interact with people in an extremely simple manner, basically trying to improve their lives. So where he could teach a piece of knowledge, he taught. He says, knowledge is greater than wealth, as I told my daughter very recently, that ilm is greater than wealth, because knowledge you gain and you can share it, but you never lose it. But wealth, you gain it and you lose it because you give it away. And or clouds, days pass away like clouds, which you've all heard. These are very simple things which you say to people and had an impact on people, right? We all know stories of him giving sadaqah to poor people. So I think, first of all, as a practical thing, the Voice of Human Justice gives those stories. But two, I think, not to be a source of division. And I would say to uphold the values and rule of law of this society that we live. We should be good, abiding citizens and reflect that in the way we behave. That's one. The second thing you said, how to form a pan-Islamic identity, right? I think that this is very difficult, but I think it's possible. It requires maturity and principle. One, maturity that even if we are from a different background, we may have a different way of doing things. And I think that already causes a friction. I mean, from simple things about the food we eat, right? Let's be honest, right? Okay, the food we eat might be a source of conflict between people. Our timings of programs and what we want in the programs, what we want to see if we're a part of a committee, right? So these, it appears to me, are the reasons why we have formed different centers. Okay? So a predominantly Indian center, predominantly Afghani center, predominantly, okay? So I think a pan-Islamic center, which is what the Prophet created, by the way, by promoting Bilal to do the adhan, I basically think that to answer your question, we have to be mature enough to let certain of these things go, essentially. So certain of the cultural things, which is part of our identity, if we're going to form a particular institution where those cultural things are going to stand in the way, then we kind of have to come to an agreement that in the programs that we hold, we all agree that it's not going to conflict in our culture, in the language and these things. That's one. Two is there has to be a rule of law. And I think this is the hardest one. I'll say it openly. Maybe an Afghani center doesn't want an Indian person to lead, and an Indian center doesn't want an Afghani or Iraqi person to lead. Or an Arab doesn't want a non-Arab. I've not seen, by the way, I don't know, you can tell me I'm wrong, an Arab center having an Indian committee and a Pakistani committee member is very rare. I mean, please correct me, I don't really see it. So the issue is, okay, leadership. And are people mature enough to kind of say, okay, we'll work together, and it's not about promoting one group of people over the other. Okay, now the Indians are in control, Afghanis in control, Arabs in control. And I think that this second bit is the hardest one. And that's why, I mean, me being born here, although we have a history of colonialism, right, and the monarchy enslaved our ancestors, I respect this country because it has a rule of law and has reflected that having a monarchy which subjugated people is wrong. They realized that, and they instituted the rule of law. I think we have to respect that. Totally, we have to respect that. Whereas when you look at majority of Muslim countries, you look at Bahrain, you look at Saudi, they're basically monarchies. So you have to respect the rule of law, and nobody is above the rule of law. Maybe it's not satisfactory, but inshallah, I tried. Sorry.
Last question, quickly.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, brother. This is Sayyid Abbas Bukhari.
Yes.
What do you mean when you saying Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam?
Yes.
You mentioned there is the poor and unknown tribe.
Poor and unknown tribe.
Yeah.
You mean when somebody asks, say Fatima?
When
Yes.
you say that words, so what do you mean actually want to say?
When you say in relation to Imam Ali or in relation to tribes?
No. You just mentioned in your perhaps
Oh,
Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, they thinking
Yes.
obviously whatever the companion of the Usman Ghani, so third Khalifa.
Yes,
They are
Uthman.
the thinking is Imam Ali is poor, but Imam Ali is not poor. Imam Ali have plenty of villages on his name, the farming land.
Yes, I didn't. Yeah.
And
okay.
is the Banu Hashim is the well-known tribe than the all over the Arab.
Oh, I see. Right.
So what
yes.
do you mean
Yes.
actually?
Yes. Okay. So to quickly answer the question, I will quote you the reference. Okay, the hadith came from Mustadrak al-Hakim. Okay, and this is page 927, hadith number 4700. What I quoted, if I wasn't clear, was people asked Lady Fatima, why did you marry Imam Ali? Because he's poor. Okay, so they asked a question to Lady Fatima, this is from Sunni source, they asked Lady Fatima al-Zahra, why did you marry Imam Ali alayhi salam? And they said, why did you marry him? He's poor. That was their understanding. Lady, yes. It's not like he's going around in wealthy clothes and promoting that. Yeah, exactly. That's. Yes. I agree with you. I agree. But that was my point. That was their thinking. That was some of the people in that society. That was there. So that was the only context to say that. And Lady Fatima responded proudly that no, he is the kind of close to Rasulullah and all that. It was in that society. Okay.
Thank you very, very much for the talk and for the questions. And inshallah, Imranali will still be around a little bit afterwards for a few minutes at least if you have other
inshallah.
questions. Salawat ala Muhammad wa al Muhammad. Please stay. please stay down there. We just have a couple of things to finish the program with. Firstly, Dr. Nizar Merali would like to spend a couple of minutes just updating everybody about the Salam Center. As you'll see outside, there's been a lot of progress, and he'd like to spend a couple of minutes updating us all about what's going on.
My brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Can I also take the opportunity of extending and congratulating you on the birthday of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Imranali, this community, where are you? This community has had trustees and executive committee members consisting of Khojas, Iraqis, Indians, and Iranians as well. And that's what we want to build here. We want to build a center, the Salam Center, which these young people that I see plentiful in front of me, who are going to be the owners of that center. And the development that they will be having and have had, they need space. They need that pan-Islamic space. That's what the Salam Center is all about. But alhamdulillah, good news I have to tell you is that construction work has started. We signed a £6 million contract. We will have delivery of the building, the image as you see it, the complete building, the roof, the walls, the facade, the glazing, the external landscape, the doors, the windows, everything ready, handed over to us, inshallah, by December or January 2024. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. When we signed the contract, we had £4 million, so £2 million still to collect. Today, we already collected £500,000, so £1.5 million still to collect. It's the duty of every one of you individuals to please ask others that who you know are wealthy enough to donate, either a lump sum or write a standing order, even if it's £10 a month standing order. Please do the job. It is every one of us responsibility. Let's just try and collect that money as quickly as we can. And can I just give you slightly sad news that that building will be with us in December, but it will be a shell. There'll be nothing inside. So next stage we have to fit out. The first thing that we must fit out is a prayer hall. And that can all be done very quickly if we have the money. By June 2024, in other words, Ramadan 2024, or definitely, inshallah, Muharram 2024, we needn't sit here. We'll sit there, inshallah. But let's work. All we need to do is collect the money and ask, and I beg each and every one of you to do your job. It is as much as your center as it is anybody else's here. It is for your children and your grandchildren. Let's keep on working hard. I'm willing to go with you and see any person that you want to. Come and visit the place as well. Come and have a look if you haven't looked at it. Ring me, phone me any time that you want to visit. You look at it and you'll understand what it is all about. And then you'll be able to narrate the story so much more effectively. Thank you very much.
Just before we have Ziyarah, a couple of quick announcements. Well, our regular events on Sunday, we have tafsir in the morning from Sheikh Bahmanpur. We have the Soul Kitchen Food Bank, which runs in the morning. We have Husayni Madrasa, which obviously runs at No Hill School. Every Tuesday, we have yoga, ladies exercise classes. Wednesday, Ginger Khai martial arts classes. Thursdays, Dua Kumal and Surah Yasin. Every Friday, we have the Salam Talk series. Next week, there's a panel discussion on Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. Every Saturday, we have badminton for young people. And we have a number of upcoming events. On 11th February, we have paint night. On 19th February, we have a quiz night. And on 14th February, we have a drama workshop. All of which... There's a lot more information about that on the website, but we can talk to any member of the executive committee who can tell you more, and we'll have them on the screen as well, inshallah. Next door, right now, we have a lot of games available but they will be unsupervised. But if any of the young children would like to play, there is going to be games in the other hall. There will be ice cream distributed afterwards for young people and old people only. Those in the middle don't get anything, please, because we don't have enough. So young people and people above the age of whoever wants to have ice cream, inshallah. Thank you very much. We'll now end the program with Ziyarah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا نبي الله. السلام عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا محمد بن عبد الله ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا رسول الله وعلى ابن عمك أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب وصي رسول رب العالمين. السلام عليك يا رسول الله وعلى بضعتك الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا رسول الله وعلى زوجتك الوفية الغراء خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا رسول الله وعلى ولديك الإمامين الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. السلام عليك يا رسول الله وعلى أئمة المسلمين من ذرية ولدك الحسين علي السجاد ومحمد الباقر وجعفر الصادق وموسى الكاظم وعلي الرضا ومحمد الجواد وعلي الهادي والحسن العسكري والحجة ابن الحسن المهدي. السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا الله من أنصارك وأعوانك والمستشهدين بين يديك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.